So China is in a difficult position in relationship to the United States. The United States has placed essentially an embargo on some goods, not all by any means. The United States has not blockaded China, but potentially could blockade China. And so when we look at China, I see it by being stupid, pardon me, a country that's embattled. Internally, it is facing crises in its borderlands, Xinjiang, now Inner Mongolia, problems with the Indians, problems in Hong Kong, of course, that you've all seen. We see a significant problem on the part of China. Yet the public opinion is that China is on the rise and the United States is in decline. So China has a fraction of the American GDP. China has a fraction of America's financial capabilities and a fraction of the military. So why do we see China as declining rather than the United States falling? Because the United States is a mess. When you look at it internally, we are in one of our periodic periods of chaos. And it's assumed that that period of chaos translates itself into a reality. But the reality is aircraft carriers that won't dissolve because we have silly things being said by politicians. We have an appetite for product that won't disappear because we have silly politicians and so on. We have to look at the objective characteristics of national power. Obviously, no nation is eternal, but here we're dealing with the assumption of 2020 that what we will see in 2040 is going to be a China that has risen beyond the United States. And what I'm pointing out to you is it could happen, but it is very unlikely given the circumstances. And so in the same way that in 2000 we thought we would never have to worry about serious wars again, that we had created a single integrated system, well, that wasn't right. And it may have been a good idea, but it didn't happen. And the United States declining in the minds of many people is a very good idea. But good ideas don't rule history. And so my point that I want to drive home is that the future is very hard to define unless you immerse yourself in the past. And then you see the patterns, and the patterns that can lead you to errors or to correct your errors. Or you can look at a particular circumstance, such as I did not give any justice to the Chinese situation. But you can look at China and say, okay, is this a country that can overcome the United States? Is the United States, given its political chaos, a country in decline? And when looking at that, then you can also look at previous declines of other countries and of the United States, of previous countries that were about to overwhelm us, like the Soviet Union, and you begin to see a model of what not to do. And that allows me to say that, in my view, there will be rising and falling nations, as there's in every century. And I don't regard China as a rising nation. It is a nation that has risen. It has done beautifully, given the fact that it was started as a Maoist country. It was hard not to do better than that. But still, we have to understand its weakness. The most important thing in forecasting is the weakness of countries, not the strength. The strength always deludes itself until you add in the weakness. And so if you look at China, there is weakness. If you look at the United States, there is weakness. If you look at every country in the world, there is a weakness. But nobody noticed the weakness of Great Britain in 1900. Everybody was talking about its glory. And that there was the mistake, if you will, that they made over and over again. And I would urge you, in thinking about the international system, to go beyond the common knowledge, because the common knowledge, the conventional wisdom, is historically wrong. That's not the way it turns out. Thank you.